Welcome to the Spark Show. In this episode, we have one of our Spark Society students, Danni, and she is a body image coach, body positive advocate, Black feminist, pop culture enthusiast, and entertainer from Sanford, Florida. She's the creator of, is it I'm a Pound Cake, like sassy like that?
I just explained this to someone earlier today. It's I'm a Pound Cake, and it actually is a beautiful story behind it. If you're interested in hearing, so Ama is Ghanaian. It means for that you're born on Saturday. So my 21st birthday, I went to Ghana. At that time, I didn't know my African ancestry, so I just chose Ghana. And so they named me Ama, and my friends started calling me Ama. And Pound Cake has a lot to do with my grandma used to bake cakes, and Sanford is a small town, and people would ask, can you bake cakes like her? And one of her specialties was pound cake. So I'm a Pound Cake.
I love that. I think it's cute both ways. And when people say it, I say it all sassy. Because when we're going to have you on a guest, I was like, pound cake. I'm a pound cake. That girl. And she's like, oh, cool. So yeah, she had already, my team member who reached out to Danni to be on the podcast, she already had been connected with you on Instagram, so she knew who you were. So it looks like, you are all about body image and body positivity. So can you tell us a little bit about how you got into that?
So specifically the term body positivity, I would say I didn't learn about the term until maybe 2016, 2017. But fat liberation work, I've been doing it for a very, very long time. One of my first groups that I started was in the 6th grade. I co-started this group. It was called Eat or Die. It wasn't politically correct at the time. At the time, it sounded good for a 6th grader, and it was all about bigger girls embracing themselves and loving their bodies, and we would dress up the same and meet at the bus ramp if you were a car ride or whatever, and we would walk down the halls together. And so those are some of my earliest memories of I think this advocacy work and being in this and affirming my body and being in community with folks is so important. And I think how I transitioned into taking it more seriously and continuing to make it a career and working with women came from being in college at Florida State University. I was in a Black feminist course, and I thought, what I'm reading just doesn't make sense. I am a Black woman, but I'm also a fat person in society, and I think that all of those things, how they intersect, I have to experience them at the same time. And so I wrote a paper, and I didn't have much to write a paper about. It wasn't access, because in college they make you certain articles you can use. There was a lot of blog posts, but not actual scholarly documents. And so anyway, long story short is that's when I started to continues to get into the movement.
Awesome. So what about coaching? What made you want to be a body image coach, and what do you help people do?
Yeah, I think that in many ways I've been talking to people about their bodies for a very long time, mostly fat people, fat Black people, and how I got into it and was I didn't know it existed, but people were constantly asking me about their body and questions about their bodies on social media. In person, people who were silent followers, and they would see me. There's a long story about why I actually know a lot of my followers, probably about 5,000-6,000 of them I actually know. And so people would ask me questions, and I was like, I should look into how I turn this into a career. I spent a lot of time helping people, setting up video chats through my Instagram, and I found this career, got a community, learned the skills that I needed to learn to do this work, and just did a couple of trainings that I needed to do. And Now that I'm like doing it, I just feel like, this is so relieving. And actually turning it into something that I can do as a career has been more helpful. So I feel like I've been able to help more people. And like that's what I want to do. Like I want to help people. And so like body image coaching is like I take you on a journey of healing with your body. A lot of us don't know that like how we've been socialized like in the world outside of our families has had an impact, but also like our relationships with our parents, our brothers and sisters, our friends, when we've gone to the store. It impacts how we interact with food. It impacts how we interact with shopping, ourselves, going out in public. Before COVID, I had just introduced something called living in public, which is to get people who are larger, like out in public. There's a lot of shame and social isolation that happens with people who are larger. And so want to get that back open, but not during COVID. But those are the kind of things that I do, take people on a journey of healing with their body, whatever that may mean. It may mean weight loss, right? And so like in the body positivity community, like fat people have been harmed by these ideas like you need to lose weight. But that's kind of in the body positivity community and as a body image coach, that's not what I'm like promoting. Is if you choose to make this decision, let it be for you and not for someone else.
I love that. And what are some of the breakthroughs that you've been able to help your clients achieve?
One of one of them is really important to me is when there's like couples, right? Like people who are in relationships and they're have one of the things that's hard was like when the woman gains weight, the relationship tends to shift. Right? When people have been married 10 and 11 years and like their weight somehow changes their relationship, that's a really big deal, especially when if you want to continue to, you build a family, you want to continue to be with folks, be with that person. So I think one of the greatest successes is like working with a couple and actually like working through what they think about bodies and what that actually means as individuals and how that shows up in their relationship. And I am a feminist, a Black feminist, so I'm like, I'm on the side of the woman. How could you? um, but anyway, I think that's one of the success, like people being able to like work things out in their marriage. And one of the biggest issues is usually money, but beauty is currency in our country, and pretty privilege is definitely a thing. I think in my group workshop settings, it's always, for me, the wins come from when other young people say, I feel inspired, or I'm so glad you're doing this work. I was at the University of South Florida doing a course, and at the end of it, this like little chunky girl comes up to me, maybe like 19 years old, and say, "Thank you. I've never been in a workshop like this before." And I thought about it. I went to the Boys and Girls Club growing up and all these other programs. I'm like, no one ever talked about my body and like how I'm positioned in society. Besides, like, you're gonna grow boobs one day, and that's mostly what I got to know about my body, but not how I can actually like it, even when the world hates it. So, yeah.
That's amazing. And so, why is it so important for you to do this work? Like, why is this your mission? And why do you believe that this is kind of your impact that you have to make on the world?
Yeah, I think that I always tell people like activism is the rent that you pay on earth. Alice Walker said that, and I love her so much. But I think that a lot of times like fat phobia is like separated from racism, but it's like it's rooted in the same thing, right? And I'm not just saying that because like I'm a fat Black person, but like the history of the way of like treating fat bodies is like deviant comes from like fear of Black bodies. And so I've been doing like race relations works for a very long time. And it's, for me, I think that fat Black people are consistently like left out of the conversation. And so things like reproductive rights, there isn't a birth control pill that accommodates people over 175 pounds, right? And so why has a pill been on the market for almost 30 years and hasn't accommodated people who are larger?
Wow,
Um,
I didn't even know that.
yeah, it's a big deal. So, and that's one of the things why I'm not just a body image coach, and I think the advocacy piece is so important, because if we don't change the narrative about like how bodies are positioned in society and how it's like bodies are political, we don't really change things. Because self-love, you can love yourself and still be oppressed. Like, I was on an airline. I flew to Texas to visit my friend. That's where I am now. And if I wasn't like sitting in first class, I wouldn't have had a seat that really fit me. I would be like scrunched up. And if I usually have to get an extender belt because there isn't a seat belt that accommodates me. Or, you know, if I was a few pounds larger, I would have to pay for two seats. Those are like all structural things. Like, you're into traveling, right? And so like how traveling is impacted based on your size. And I grew up with a disabled aunt, and she was fat, and like I saw how badly she was treated. I saw the way that my mom was treated when she came to speak up for me at school. And so all of those things like wrapped up just made me feel like I gotta do something. People that I love so dearly are being impacted, and I really care a lot about like women and girls, and the way that they're treated in society. And so I think that the way to, you know, get us into a better place is that some of us have to do the dirty work and be activists.
That's so true. That's the only way things are going to change and they're going to get done, is that if someone speaks up and makes enough noise, right? And I think this is actually the best time for that, now that people are starting to wake up and starting to see the injustice. And I think that, you know, there's still a lot of work to do, but at least I think this is a start.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So I want to kind of take a step back and kind of talk about some of the struggles or challenges that you faced, as far as like, you know, you being an influencer and putting yourself out there. What are some of the things, lessons that you can share with us for those who are listening, who are like, maybe, you know, they are people who are concerned about their weight and their size, but they're scared about putting themselves out there?
Yeah, that's always an interesting one. Um, so I will also say I grew up as like the popular fat girl. And so what that means to me is like I've always kind of been in the front, and I could dance, I could do all those things. So I do think my personality and um, I wasn't really that much afraid of Instagram, because I was like, well, I'll kind of do these crazy things in person. Um, but I think that some of the challenges that I have faced is like I have thin friends who are on the internet, and when they post a picture, they don't get DMs about like how much their body needs to change, or like messages in their comment section. Like, for a long time, when I posted a picture, I used to have to like wait by the phone to make sure that like I delete the comments really fast that were like against my body. Not just for myself, they did harm me, but they are for my community, because I think it's like really important that like I make my social media as much as I can a safe space for women, especially like fat black women. And so those were some of the things that I was like experiencing. I just like speaking out about it. I'm like a real clapback queen. And and so like speaking out about it, immediately deleting people, reporting people. Like, I spent a lot of time doing that, because I was just getting all these like violent messages. To some things, like people were telling me I should die. Yeah, I was like experiencing. I was crying, and great thing is I have like some very much so like supportive friends. But those are like the ugly. The most beautiful things about it is like I actually have more fat black friends now. And so like before putting myself out there, like I didn't have this big of a community. Like I actually like I'm in like a group chat on my phone, and I've never been in a group chat ever like this. You know, I video chat with people, not just about body image, but like pop culture things. I love pop culture. I'm a junkie. And, and I enjoy it so much. And being on the internet, I think the challenges for me was like, how much skin should I show? Right. And so I think, right. So like women have been objectified. And so when people see me showing my body, it's like women have been objectified. And so, and you're doing this for the male gaze, but then on the other end, like I actually haven't had the chance to really like have an agency over my body because I like the body that I live in. We all have been taught that like it's an asexual, that like anytime I show skin that is deviant. And so I like had to battle with like my identities and like what that means to the world. And instead of hiding, I was just like, I'll just teach people, right? Like, and sometimes it may be in a comical, I'm being a jerk, and sometimes I'm being extremely politically correct. I'm just catering to like all of my, all of my audience because I am an entertainer, and I try to be funny all the time. But so anyway, so those were some of the things that I like experienced on the internet. And then like one of the things that like kind of set me apart and like grew my following, when I wasn't like trying to, this is when I started taking it seriously. Is when I like had a viral moment, and I had a viral moment when I had only like 25,000 followers, 2,500 followers, not thousand, 25,500 followers. Ooh, that never always gets me messed up. And I like was in a celebrities like DMs and saying like, you say you care about like larger bodies, but you make music videos that don't show us. And so like it got other bigger women involved, and like we all started attacking him, and he remade the video with only plus size women in it.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah. So this artist, I don't know if you know him, his name is Plies. He's like a Florida artist. And so he remade the video. And then like I went viral, and I was like, oh my gosh, I went viral. It was a lot to go viral, by the way, just like, and so those were moments on the internet. I'm like, okay, I can do this. And like, there are people out here who need me on the internet.
That's amazing. I want to watch that video now. We should put the link in the show notes. I'm sure everyone wants to watch that video. Amazing. So you're working with women who, are struggling or challenged with their body image and, loving themselves. And so you are a coach for them now. And I know you're in the Spark Society and you have me as your coach. So why do you think it's super important for people to invest in coaching and to have a coach?
Well, I think it's important because actually my therapist talks about this. Like everything that you do, sometimes you need a coach. A lot of things that you do, you need a coach, right? And so to manage your money, if that's not your skill, you need a coach. Um, if you are experiencing mental health, like I see therapists as coaches. um, Body image is like a struggle, and what you have been doing on your own hasn't been working, like you need a coach. And I like, think in so many ways that we all have coaches. A mentor is a coach, a sponsor is a coach. And I think coaches are really important because they help amplify the things that we know, and they also teach us things that we didn't know. Like for example, you being my coach, right? And I thought I was doing well on social media. And then I was like, ooh, this audit uh, is not actually what I wanted to, like I want my social media to appeal to more women, especially like fat Black women. And so when I change, listening to you and being a part of Spark Society, when I changed my social media and started following the rules, well, not rules, but you know what I mean. Like more people started coming. Like this past month, I got 3,000 followers in exactly 1 month. And that just came from like following and reading and being in community with a coach. I wouldn't have gotten there without a coach. And I think that, like even with my therapist, I'm like, I think, just like, I don't really know the answers, or, you need someone to like run these things by who have been skilled and been doing this for a very long time. Cause I really want to be successful in like every area of my life. And I think that coaches have been like helping me get there. And I think that with body image, I want to help other people get to where I am with body image coaching.
Amazing. So yeah, you went from 7,000 followers to 10,000 followers in 1 month. That's 3,000 gained. That's a lot. I don't think I've been able to do that.
Yeah, that was crazy. I was like, wow. And it was an audience, right? So I like spent a lot of time deleting men, unless they're like fat men. I allow them to stay, or like trans men, I allow them to stay. But like if they're cis men, I usually don't allow them to stay on my platform. And so, and I was shocked that it was like my audience who came to me.
Well, you guys, you just got to follow my method, right?
Right, yeah.
Awesome. Well, so as far as like growing your following and attracting the right people, what are some of the opportunities that have come up for you?
Well, I was featured in Madame Noir's newspaper. Blog posts about fat white influencers and the way that they should be showing up for fat Black women influencers in the body positivity community. And so that was pretty cool. I was like, "Ooh, I got an article on like a major publication." Tomorrow, I'm like interviewing. I don't know if you know the hit show The Shy. It's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
Yeah, I'm interviewing one of the characters, Maisha. She's a fat Black girl. And I don't think I would have gotten that had I had visibility on social media. Just like so many things, I've gotten brand deals before. People were not responding to me, and I think I'm posting the same type of content, but I think like getting the followers up and getting the engagement up has really helped me, following the rate sheet, and like making my forget what it's called. It's like the things that you compare your experience, the brands that you've done in the past.
Your case studies.
Case studies, yes. Having case studies. I've gotten that. And one of the things is I wanted to write this to you all, but I was like, they're probably gonna think I'm a whole weirdo. But one brand, I bought a swimsuit, and I talked a little bit about this, but I didn't tell every detail. I bought a swimsuit that no one was wearing online, and it was like a new launch that a company had. And I did all this research, like, dang, it's been like over a week, and no one's worn this specific bathing suit. And not only that, like it was made for plus size women, so like it was a thong bathing suit, and so there aren't really many thong bikinis on for plus size women. I was like, I gotta put this on. I put it on, took pictures in it, did all the editing, posted it, wrote, like really studied on what kind of content I wanted to put out. Not only was I contacted about the brand, but the CEO of the brand contacted me and said thank you. Like personally in my DMs, he contacted me because there was no one on the internet with the bathing suit on. I think they really were trying to like push the bathing suit. And even though I didn't get any money from it, I think that it was like super cool to see all these girls who were inspired, who said, I want to buy, I want to buy, I want to buy. And I was like, wow, because at the end of the day, like people felt like empowered enough to buy something that they were shamed out of buying anyway. So I thought that that was pretty beautiful, and that like it all comes from like having a coach to be able to help me so I can get my message out to help other people.
Totally. I love that. And, I feel like every coach needs a coach. Like we're coaches, we have coaches, and it's a never ending learning experience and journey. So thanks for sharing that. As far as brands, what are some of the brands that you've loved working with?
So I've only had a few so far. So, Alpine swimwear. That one was like one of my favorites actually, because they were like, do whatever you want, and I was scared. because I'll tell you, even though they picked me, I was a little bit insecure about like, do I really fit the brand? Because when I don't like see a lot of like Black people, I'm like wondering what their audience is actually looking for, since like people have been comfortable not seeing me. And but I got this like amazing response. And their team was like really happy, like you put on one of the best videos. And I stayed up like all night, like trying to make a perfect video. And I was like, wait, what is this, like I sent it out to people, like, what do you think about this? And I was like getting really insecure about it. And it actually was like a pretty amazing video, inspired lots of women again. That was one of the brands that I really like. City Trends. I grew up shopping there, and actually, like growing up poor, it was like a lot of shame around wearing City Trends, and so for me, I think like being an influencer and wearing the clothes is showing that like you can still wear like clothes that poor people wear, and like it still be considered fashion, and like being proud of wearing those clothes. And there's like, when you're larger anyway, you don't get to wear designer. It's like not, designer is just not available. And so I think that it's important not to like shame brands that like appeal to like poor audience. So those two brands have been like most important to me. I actually was on the cover of the newspaper. I also like organized protests. And so I was on the cover of the newspaper right when they said, I want to work with you. And I just was wearing their clothes anyway. And I was like, oh, wait, I think you should want this too. And they loved it. I didn't know that they would like appreciate me being in a Black Lives Matter protest with their clothes on, but they loved the content. And so I just been having very unique experiences with brands, and it's just so new and fresh. And I'm really excited that I like get to be myself, so I can like show people who are like me that they don't have to like hide and be invisible.
That's amazing. You're growing so fast and you are attracting so many amazing people that I definitely have no doubts that more brands are going to be on their way to you. What would your kind of dream brands be if they're listening right now? Which ones would you want to be working with?
I really want to work with Savage Fenty. Like
Put it
really,
out there, girl. You don't
yeah, I
know
really
whose
want
works there.
to. I really want to work with Savage Fenty. If there's like any brand, it would be that brand. And I like want to work with Nike. Um, I like every time I get to see a plus size Nike mannequin, I like if I'm traveling, I just go. Even if I don't have the money to buy anything, I just go because I'm like, I want to be standing next to this mannequin. I've done it in Atlanta and Chicago. I'm a bit crazy, but I'm like manifest, manifest, manifest. Um, so those are two really two brands that I would just really love to work with.
That's amazing. And I have no doubts that you will be definitely working with both of those brands. You know me, I'm all about putting it out there into the
Yeah.
universe and attracting that abundance. So, what's next for you?
So, I want to, well, recently I've tried to start this project that is in the process right now. I'm working with the state of Florida and becoming a community partner, doing more body image coaching through health advocacy with the state of Florida. So that's currently where I live. So that's a project that I'm like currently working on, and then I want to start working on my YouTube channel. It's kind of hard managing a lot of platforms, by the way, just to let everyone know. But just make sure you have time for it. It's really important. But my YouTube channel really getting that off because people were loving the fat black girl panels. And there's a lot of great content that I've gotten from it. And I just want to make sure that, and just information and building community. And I want to give more out and give more opportunities for people to come on the YouTube show. And so I want to work more on that.
That's so exciting. Well, I'm so excited for you, and I'm so happy to have you as part of the Spark Society. And thank you so much for taking the time to be on the Spark Show today.
Yay, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. We're going to go ahead and put Danni's links and her Instagram in the show notes so you guys can go stalk her and look at all her awesome content. And thank you so much for listening to The Spark Show, and I will see you in the next episode.
Bye.